So today, Dallas Jenkins announced a new project that he's about to start work on in just a few weeks. It's actually crazy to see what he's doing right now. In between seasons 4 and 5 of The Chosen, he's actually working on a brand new movie. So let's go through this video where he announces everything with Amanda Jenkins, and let's react to it. Let's talk about it and see what I think about it. Here's the video. Here we go.
Hey there. We have, because this is definitely we have a very big personal announcement. This isn't actually a Chosen announcement. So,
imagine that.
Yeah. So
this has got to be really weird for him, right? Because they've been so surrounded by The Chosen for so long. Like even in our interview that we recently did with Amanda Jenkins, she's even talking about how they feel swallowed by The Chosen sometimes. So this has got to be a really different thing that they're kind of diving into.
I know you might be sad, but this is actually really good news. It's actually really cool. So I want to tell you about our next project. And, well, not even next, our current project.
Our like tomorrow, today and tomorrow and the next day
project that is actually coming in between seasons 4 and 5. I'm going to tell you right now, spoiler alert, The Chosen is not impacted at all. The Chosen is still happening on schedule. Don't worry about that. But something that we have been chasing for 15 years minimum.
I mean, more than that, but yeah, that'll work.
So we have to keep in mind as we learn about this project, this is something that's been going on for a very long time, even far beyond The Chosen and where The Chosen was previously.
So let's start, before I tell you the project and what we're doing, let's start there, because this story is really important and it's really cool. You were where? You go ahead and tell how this story starts.
When our kids were little, I was in Pottery Barn Kids because I was one of those people that would go and just like play in the store. We didn't buy anything, but we would just play in the store. And I saw something I could afford, which was this book sitting, I've got a big Band-Aid, but sitting on the counter at Pottery Barn for $3. And I had read this as a kid, and I thought...
The best Christmas pageant ever, in case they can't see that.
Best Christmas pageant ever. And so I grabbed it and took it home and decided we were gonna sit the kids around and we were gonna read this story to our kids.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I remember this. This is really funny and it's cute. And there was a TV movie in the 80s that I kind of remembered that was cute, but yeah. So you said, Dallas, you're the dad?
Dallas,
Christmas time, you read
it.
And,
and you did.
Within
you
the
did
first,
very poorly.
Yeah, because within chapter 1, we were seeing little things that I might even get emotional talking about now, because every time we talk about this book, we get emotional. But I started crying. And then I would gather myself and we'd kind of look at each other like, my goodness, why are we already crying? And then we get to chapter 2 and we would be laughing because it's so funny and so charming and so whimsical and so well written. And then we got deeper into the book and we got to near the end of the book because it's not that long and got to the big emotional climax and I was ugly crying.
Ugly crying.
I couldn't read. And so I handed it to you and you said, I got this.
I was like, oh, good grief.
And then you got about 2 paragraphs and started ugly crying and handed it back to me. And our kids are just looking at us like,
what is happening? Yeah.
Because they were really young. And we just wept through the whole rest of the book. And I put it down and I said, I have to make this movie.
Yeah,
I have to make this movie.
It was the first time through it.
This is the movie that I was born to make. If I can only make one more movie the rest of my life, this is it. And
so when I first heard this announcement from this video here, I was kind of like off put a little bit. I'm not like a really big Christmas movie guy, but let's keep on listening because this actually does seem like it's right up Dallas's alley and the story behind it could be told in such a unique and cool way. So let's hear more about the book and more about their experience kind of chasing down this project.
I went online, I'm doing a deep dive to try to find the rights, what's going on with it, and I saw little mini announcements. And long story short, I ended up finding a couple of the rights holders, the ones who had gotten the rights to the book from the original author who's no longer with us. And I tracked them down, and one of them happened to be, we had a mutual friend. So through the mutual friend, I connected with him and I get to meet with him in a hotel lobby. His name is Jerry Mullen. He's a big time producer. He's produced Steven Spielberg movies. And so I'm a little intimidated, but I go to him and I say, I heard you have the rights along with a couple other guys to the best Christmas pageant ever. Their names are Darren and Chet, by the way. And I said, I have to make this movie. I said, I have a huge heart for kids. I'm good with kids. This book is about kids who are kind of, as the Bible would say, the least of these, as we might say now, others, meaning kids who are on the outskirts. They're called, the opening sentence of the book is, the Herdmans were the worst kids in the history of the world. And
So this is the basis of the book. The herdsmen were the worst kids in the history of the world. And then they're going to explain a little bit more, but you have to imagine this is Dallas years and years and years and years and years ago. They said they've been chasing down this dream for 15 years, right? So they've been really trying to do this for a very long time. And this story, how they get there, is really interesting.
It's about these kids from the wrong side of the tracks who are poor and single mom and just living. They're bullies, they're mean, they're rough, but everyone looks at them not how God sees them, but how the world would see them traditionally.
And they end up, we should just say, they end up kind of hijacking the
Christmas
local
pageant.
church's Christmas pageant, which is why it's originally called the worst Christmas pageant ever. But what they do with it and
their insights into
Jesus
the nativity
through
story.
their eyes. It makes me cry right now. Jesus through their eyes of the least of these, and how that ends up impacting the Christmas pageant and the people watching the Christmas pageant. So that is the story.
Yeah, and it's similar to what The Chosen is trying to do, actually, to take the story of Christmas and the story of Jesus and take it down from stained glass windows and pretty paintings, and Mary as this glowing haloed angel holding a precious little baby, and turning it into whatever, well, not turning it into, revealing what it actually is.
Yeah.
And through the eyes of these kids, they do that. So
it's a story of redemption. It's a story of change. It's a story of looking at a perspective from something else, right? This is very similar to what The Chosen is, where they're taking the perspective of Jesus's story, but through the perspective of the apostles, right? And seeing it in a new way, through the eyes of the Romans, through the eyes of the apostles, through the eyes of the people that are around and being healed, right? And so it's a really unique look. So this is very similar to the Chosen's type of storytelling. So I'm looking forward to it.
I'm talking like we're talking now to Jerry Mullen. I'm like, and I'm good with kids, and it's funny and dramatic at the same time. I have to do this. And he's like, wow, I really love your passion. Unfortunately,
You can't have it.
a studio only has the rights, and they have a director attached. And so he ends up calling his partners, and he says, I'm talking to a guy who I love, and he would be a great director. What is the situation? And they're like, there's a director already attached, and it's with the studio. So what I did was I went home, and I just said, no one else can make this movie. If I ever have to watch this movie from someone else, it will kill me.
Trust you.
Yeah. And so I put in my calendar a weekly reminder, all it said was pray for pageant. So once a week it would pop up on my calendar on my phone or my laptop, and I would just stop and I'd say, God, either give me this movie, that's my number one request, or if not, change my life in some way so that I can be okay with that, because I can't be okay with it now. Yeah. So every week for years. And the rights, every couple of years I would check up, because the rights typically expire every couple of years at a studio if it's not made. And a couple of years would go by and I would check to see, and the movie still hadn't been made. So I would check in with the rights holders. Now again, at this time, I'm kind of a nobody. Like meaning I've done a couple of movies, but they were all pretty low budget.
Yeah, he's mainly worked on low budget movies, or like really short form movies for churches and stuff, or, not very successful movies, basically, before The Chosen, obviously.
And not studio movies, and had varying degrees of success. And these guys didn't really know who I was, and they liked me, but they wanted to do a big studio movie, And so, but I kept checking in, and every couple of years I would hound these guys. I would text Darren or call Darren, what's going on? And he goes, well, the rights lapsed, but we're going to renew with this studio. Again, long story short, several more years go by. I end up making the movie The Resurrection of Gavin Stone, which, if you haven't heard of it, that's why it failed. But if you have and you remember, you know that it was a failure. But it was co-produced with the studio that had the rights.
Again, God does this so often. I love this about God, that he will make you wait on something, or like make things just go in the perfect time that he needs them to, make things go in the perfect direction that he needs them to. It's just so beautiful. It's so great.
And so when I was in a meeting with them, I said, listen, I know you love my movie, and I know you want to make more movies with me. There's one movie I really want to make. It's the best Christmas pageant ever. And they said, oh, cool. Yeah, well, we've got a director, and here's what we're doing with the script. And I said, oh, please don't do that with the script, because they were changing the story.
Changing the script, yep.
And I was just like, I don't care if I don't make it, please don't ruin it. So again, up every week, pray for pageant. And every week I would pray for pageant. And then a couple of more years go by, and finally, now I'm starting to do The Chosen, And I remember telling some of my partners on The Chosen, every time I'd meet someone, I'd say, just so you know, obviously I'm not going to do anything else besides The Chosen for the next 7 seasons, except if there's a movie that I can get the rights to called The Best Christmas Pageant Ever, I have to do that. And
but this also sets a precedent, right? Like, so if he's able to do this movie and it's successful and he's able to film it in between season 4 and 5, is this going to set a precedent for him wanting to work on some other things outside of that? Not that that's a bad thing. I think that's great if he has the time and is able to work with other things, especially if it's Chosen related, like maybe spin-off shows or whatever else. I could definitely see some really cool stuff coming about. So we'll see.
There are a couple articles over the last 10 years. I even found one online just the other day where I'm interviewed about other kind of movies I want to make. And I said, well, the one movie I really want to make is Best Christmas Pageant Ever, but unfortunately I don't have the rights. So I finally check in with Darren again, and he says, well, cool, the rights just lapsed. And I'm sending him videos begging him, and telling him why I should do it. He said, finally tells me, unfortunately, we've decided to go with another studio. And so, we love your passion, but we really want to do this with someone else. And I went to Amanda, and they said no. And
Red Sea moment,
I think it's over. And you were crying, and I was crying. And as often happens in our lives, God kind of gave you some reassurance in some way. What happened when because you were telling me this, you were reminding me of this the other day.
Yeah, I mean, we were crying, and it felt very final, and it was, really, as far as people were concerned. And I just got this overwhelming sense from the Lord of it's on hold. Just don't worry about it. I've got it on hold. I just had this strong sense of it's there, but it's under my authority. That's the sense that I got. And so it stopped my crying.
And here's what's funny is while she was doing that, I didn't know. I went to the computer and that taunting pray for pageant came up.
It became a taunting.
I do similar things where I'll have a reminder that comes up, and sometimes it annoys me, for things like that. But sometimes you just got to listen to God and keep on going.
And it came up, and I went to click it off and delete it, and so that it wouldn't come up again. And I felt this sense of, don't do that. Don't click it off. This isn't over. So when she came to me and she said, I think it's not over. And I said, okay, I think it probably is, but I will tell you that I was kind of felt led to not click off that pray for pageant thing. And so I didn't. And so it kept coming up, and I would pray for pageant. I go, God, if there's anything you can do. And then finally I checked in again a couple years ago. I said, is there anything going on? And he goes, oh, wow, funny. Interesting that you texted me. I just, last week, the studio forgot to renew the rights. They're open again. And you know what? My mom recently called me. And she's a huge fan
Of course.
Right? She's a huge fan of The Chosen. And I said, oh, The Chosen. Yeah, I know the guy who
love the moms.
Yeah, who makes that show.
Yep.
And he really wants to do Christmas pageant. And she was like, you better do a movie. You better do this with him. It's awesome. And he watched The Chosen and loved it. And he goes, wow, you really could direct this movie. And he and his partners talked. And finally, I remember I came to you and I said, they said yes. They said yes, we're doing it. We got the rights. Of course, I'm making a show that's really busy.
How in the world do we do that?
How are we going to do it?
I wonder how this feels, comparatively to The Chosen, right? Where The Chosen, you have a whole season of episodes. You've got 8 episodes that are close to an hour long each, where this movie is most likely going to be, an hour and a half to 2 hours long. So I wonder how that'll feel. Will he feel way more accomplished finishing something so much more quickly, even though it won't be released until next year? So I don't know. Let's keep on watching.
Told him I can do it and I can get the money and I can, and so over the last couple of years, another long story short.
Long story long, I think at this point.
Yeah, got the script and we did a rewrite and in fact got some help from Ryan Swanson, who's my co-writer on The Chosen.
I'm super glad about that. Ryan's an amazing writer. I'm super glad he was put on this as well.
Maybe we'll never work without him.
Yeah,
but yeah.
we found a sliver of time to work on the script, and then over time got it to exactly where we wanted it, and it's now really special. And Lionsgate, which is
again another connection made within the last year that Dallas is now able to use. Super cool.
And a studio, along with Kingdom Story Company, which
another connection that he's had for a long time, but now is even closer because of the Jesus Revolution movie and everything else that Jonathan Rumi helped with. There's so many connections here that are just really cool to see.
is John Irwin and Kevin Downs, the guys who did I Can Only Imagine. John and Andy Irwin and Kevin Downs did I Can Only Imagine and just did Jesus Revolution, and they have a tremendous deal with Lionsgate, a very supportive, collaborative deal, and they said let's do it through that deal. And Lionsgate, turns out, had some executives who were massive fans of the books, and they hosted me for a best Christmas pageant party.
Christmas party in August, I think it was.
Yeah, so we ended up doing a deal, and as I talk to you today, I've had several conversations about casting, and we are going to be filming it in Canada in less than a month, which is sad that we're not doing it here, but Canada's turning out to be a beautiful place to do it. The crew is amazing.
Obviously.
And the casting, we'll be making casting announcements soon.
I wonder if he'll stay away from the Chosen cast or if he'll add them in, kind of like The Shift did with some people in there like Paras Patel and Liz Tabish. They added in obviously people that were around that Angel Studios Chosen sphere, and so I wonder if Dallas will use those people. Like I could imagine Liz Tabish being an amazing mom in that, or will he stay away from some of those characters because he doesn't want to be associated with just the Chosen forever? Yeah, I do wonder. I wonder what he'll do there.
I am so excited about the kids that we're finding and the mom that we're choosing, and it is just turning out so beautifully. And the crew and people who are coming on board this project are talking about, oh my gosh, this story is so beautiful and the script is so special. So it's coming out in theaters next year, 2024. It's going to be Lionsgate's holiday release, and we have a chance for a new Christmas classic.
Well, it's just a special family experience to go with your kids next year and as a family in the movie
because
theater.
It's not just a kids movie, it's like Christmas Story.
And I'm sure they're super happy that the strike just ended as well, because I'm sure that would have had a huge impact on this movie if they're shooting it next month. I wonder if they wanted to shoot it before and they couldn't yet because of the strike. I do wonder about that.
An Elf and Home Alone, where the adult, it's so smart and witty.
Yeah.
And look at this. This book is so well worn because when I was reading it years ago, I was writing notes. There's little notes in here about the movie. And so I am so proud and excited to tell you that we are going to be doing the best Christmas pageant ever, and it's not going to delay The Chosen one bit.
Right.
The scripts for The Chosen are almost done, but they'll be done
for season
5. I had a meeting today with my costumer and production designer, so the train is still going. We have figured it out so I can do this movie in between seasons. Yeah. And so I cannot wait for more. I cannot wait to keep you updated from the set. I cannot wait for you to see it next year. But this is one of the best moments of our career together. Yeah. And I believe it's going to be a life moment for you, because the message of this book and the script, along with the humor and the whimsy, and we're kind of doing it as kind of a realistic fairy tale. It's just so wonderful, and the message is going to impact you like it has us.
And pray for us to have endurance, and pray for the kids that are involved, the people who are involved in this movie, that they would see the story in a new way too.
So more to come, but thank you for your partnership and your support and your prayers. And season 4 of The Chosen, don't worry, is coming soon. And Christmas pageant.
All right, that's awesome. Super, super, super cool. I'm excited about everything in there. Again, I'm not a big Christmas movie guy, so I'm definitely going to be checking out the book. The way that they explained it, it seems like this could be done in a really, really cool way, which I'm sure is why Dallas wants to make the movie and why they've been wanting to make the movie for the past 15 years, but haven't been able to quite yet. God's obviously putting things in place for all of that to make sense and for it to work. So here are my thoughts about the movie overall. I think it's going to be really cool. I'm really excited. It's not inhibiting season 5 of The Chosen, which they're going to be starting to shoot next year, obviously, in the springtime. And so obviously he's shooting this in a month, which means that he'll probably be done with this in mid-January to the beginning of February would be my guess. I assume it's not going to take as long, obviously, as a season of The Chosen would take, which is like 70 or 80 days. So obviously there's a lot of work to be done, obviously a lot of things to come, including cast kind of reveals and things like that. As we're here on The Chosen Sleuth, me being the Chosen Sleuth, right, the person that's looking at Christian media, I'm going to be looking at this project as well, and especially since it has to do with Dallas and Amanda, I want to keep a close eye on it. So make sure you're back here and subscribe for more updates when it comes to Dallas and this new movie that he's going to be working on, the best Christmas pageant ever. And we'll talk through that as we go through as well. I'm sure there's a lot to be learned, a lot to be looked through, and to see how things are actually being done there. So it should be really, really cool. Leave your comments in the comment section down below. I'd love to know what you think about this whole thing. Do you think this is a good thing, a bad thing? Do you think Dallas is going to get distracted? Do you think that he's doing the right thing? Obviously, it's something that he's passionate about, and he's been working on for over a decade to try to get this project. So really, really exciting that they're able to move forward on this and really do something special with this book. So anyway, love to hear your comments. Put them in the comments down below.